Yay.
Yes. Okay, guys, again, we thank you so much for being here. Essence, she's also an award-winning magazine. All those accolades that you have, NIKKEA. Thank you so much. Do tell the folks about you and what would you like for your readers to know about you as well. And Wendy's saying, hello.
Hey, Wendy. Hey,
You got
guys. Woo, child. Listen, I don't want to talk too much, so that feel free to kind of direct me in what way that
I got you. I got you.
You got me. I know you do, girl. You know me for a long time, Chad.
Yes.
I do a lot, guys. I do a lot. Writing is one of my passions. I would like to call myself now kind of a consummate artist. I just love creating, whether it's spoken word, written word, art, jewelry, poetry, whatever. I'm really fascinated with learning how to be this great creator and just creating, all different types of forms of things. So, I've got films, I've got books, I've got, artwork, I've a lot of jewelry, a lot of things that are under my belt. And I like to share that passion, the love of the things that I do with the people that engage with me. So if you're on my friends list, on my page, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, in this social world that we're in now where we can connect together, directly, I love connecting with people and I love sharing all the things that I do, as well as sharing things that others do as well. But tonight we're here to talk about books, and that is absolutely one of my oldest and one of my most favorite passions. And it's always fun talking to you, Ellen, because you bring out of me stuff that I'll never be thinking about talking about. And I'm like, why am I saying this? Because me and Ellen, when we get together, we just kicking it like old friends, because that's what we are. We've known each other for quite some time, well over a decade. So, it's always a great, thing to come and hang out with ESP. Hey.
Thank you, girls. What you want your readers to know about you?
That's a really good question. I guess that I put a lot of my heart and soul into what I write. For me, it's always been about the passion and purpose over money. So, there's you'd be a lot of times where I'm giving books away, just because I like people reading. The things that I do and that I work on, it's really about just trying to share that love and that drive with people, and knowing that in this world, we need some ways to connect with each other that's healthy and fun and engaging and things of that nature. So I like to be the catalyst of that as much as I possibly can be. So I really do enjoy people, engaging with them, learning from them. And I like it when I can pull emotion from my readers through my books and films.
Oh, yes. And in this one, you have Heated Situation. Give us the backdrop of this story. Heated Situation.
Heated Situation is a book that never should have been. It was not, I never really had the idea of doing that book per se. It was more so me kind of answering questions that readers had and fans had from Hostile. So Hostile is the first book. It's actually a short story that I wrote in an anthology with Iris Bowling and Loretta Walls, where the three of us came together to write a book that was centered around heroes. And I had a hostage negotiator. Loretta had someone that was in the armed forces, and then Iris had a fire sergeant, or I forget the exact name, but someone that looked into arson and things of that nature. It was like super good. But that book was years and years ago. But the premise of us writing and coming together for that book really was for us to write something that we were going to just kind of put out there. And the proceeds from that book, the Heroes Anthology, 100% went to giving donations of scholarships to high school students in our area that needed help with school fees and things of that nature that were going to college. So it was a really fun and a great thing that we did. And then we each took our stories and kind of branched off from them. So Iris did something fun with hers. I actually turned Hostile into a film, my first short film under my production company with my sister, Quale Legacy. And what ended up happening, so again, Hostile in my mind is a one and done thing that I did for this project. And I wasn't really thinking about continuing these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day of set, the woman that played Elizabeth in the film, she's got this book binder with her script. She's highlighted and she's compared it with the book. And she went out and bought the book and read it. And she really delved into this character. And she said, NIKKEA, thank you so much for the opportunity. I just want to let you know, I know how you wrote the book, but Elizabeth can't die. I don't know how you're going to do this, but figure it out. We got all week to film. So, it was hilarious because she was dead serious. And she spent the entire week trying to convince me to keep her character alive, because in Hostile, the anthology, it was a one and done. So I was, cut these people off at the end, like, all right, I'm done with these characters. So she said, well, maybe we could do this and we can do that. And they were throwing out she recruited other actors, and they're like, they're excited now about it. So she was like, well, I think there's just so many different things that Elizabeth can do. We haven't really gotten to her story fully. And somehow by the end of this film, she convinced me that Elizabeth needed to stay alive. Well, the problem is Elizabeth has been killed off in the anthology. So in the film, I had to rewrite her ending, so to speak, to allude to a death and show her kind of sparking awake. So this film we did about 5-6 years ago now. And every couple months, I would get something in the mail. And I'm looking to the side because I feel like I can reach out and probably touch one of her letters where Elizabeth would send me something. Her real name is Melanie. Love her to pieces. But she would send me, so I'm not playing with y'all, she would send me a card. This is one of hers, where she would write, it would be a birthday or it would be something, and inside she'd like, so what's up with Elizabeth? Mind you, Elizabeth is not the main character in Hostile. Okay. She is a sub character and she's an important character, but the story is really about Eva, her daughter. It really was kind of like, okay, I'm one of those writers where I have to feel it. So it took me a while to kind of get to, because again, in my mind, there was no heated situation. It was Hostile. It was done. The characters were wrapped up. I told them this on the set. We had thought about it on the set, but now I got to develop a book. So the next thing that happened was I'm looking at the reviews for the anthology on Amazon, and I'm seeing a lot of people that are saying this was a great fast-paced story. Where's the rest? They were looking for a novel. So now we got that there. I'm like, okay. And then I'm looking at the different responses to the film, which you saw the film. I brought the film down to you guys.
Thank you so much for coming down.
And I listened to what people say in the regards of questions that they had, like what happens next. So for me, if I'm going to write the second part, I'm going to try to address everything.
Yes.
Right. And make sure that because I treat myself as a reader, and any questions that I would have or questions that the reader has asked, I'm going to try to address those and check them off. It may not be exactly how the reader might have thought it was going to be, but it also has to make sense.
Right.
So I had a grand task of reviving a woman that was dead in the first part. And I actually released the anthology as a standalone, the story in the anthology as a standalone to send out with Heated Situation before I actually released Heated Situation to remind people of the story. And I rewrote that ending to match the movie. And then I had to make everything make sense. So now we have, at the end of Hostile, Eva's thinking that her mom is dead. And how do we
Oh,
explain?
you did a great job.
How do we now explain? So the people that have seen the film and have read the first book, we have to make things make sense. And I like to write all my books as a standalone.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pick up Heated Situation, not having read Hostile, and I had to make it still make sense. So there was a lot of tying together different pieces and elements. And then there's the story of Eva and Gregory. There's the story of Eva and Kenneth, because there were some loose ends there with her husband.
Yeah, I need to know about that.
Yeah, well, oh, it's in
I mean, it's in here, but
Yeah, I tried my best to kind of, but we had to, really, we had to explore more of what Kenneth did in Hostile, why he did it, and then also getting different people's perspectives, because they're and really exploring that. And then we had to bring in this other looming character, and because we also have to, when you're doing a new book, you have to introduce someone new to keep people like, oh, well, what about, well, who is that? And so Heated Situations took so long to come to fruition because it never was supposed to be. I had to create something that was not there. I had to tie up all the answer a lot of questions, and I had to drive and create a new storyline in the undercurrents of everything that was already happening. Yeah. And then I had to connect all that stuff and get them to Paris.
You know what? This really makes me, I really, really appreciate the way you wove it together. And I wouldn't have known, except you tell me now. But everything makes sense, like you said. So let's go with the characters. I like digging in the characters. Let's start with Elizabeth. I want to talk about Elizabeth and Kenneth sort of together. Okay. But let's give me the backstory, because I didn't know about her story. You had it where the story, the backdrop of Elizabeth's story was more sad to Kenneth than her own daughter, Eva. She knows about that she's a product of rape. So let's just go right there with Elizabeth and being a product. I love the way you just had her. I don't want to get the whole story away, but the way you had her story and the reason behind the way she is, and those gaps between not even having a relationship.
Yeah.
And to feeding into Kenneth. I was so mad that he fed off of what happened to Liz.
Yeah. So Kenneth is honestly, there's going to be somebody in every story you read, that one person that's going to be an opportunist, that takes the opportunity and weakness and vulnerability of others. He takes that opportunity to feed and prey upon them. So there were things that he had noticed through the years of being around Elizabeth, because to be with Eva, you are going to be around Elizabeth. And he kind of waited and pounced on his opportunity because the age differences between them were the same on each side. So Elizabeth was the same age different. He was older than Eva, but younger than Elizabeth, but by the same exact on the side. So in his mind, either one of these can get it. You know what I'm saying? So now I got to figure out how he spent a lot of time fantasizing and figuring out how he can take this opportunity. The other side of Kenneth is, because of who I am, and I'm this person that has always gotten my way. How do I keep my way and keep control? Because his thing is control. So now his control factor is now about Erica, because with the straw that broke the camel's back with what Eva did, it's now putting him in a position where he's the power mover and shaker, because it's like, well, there's this instability on both sides.
Yeah.
Now, and he's holding the secret about what really happened to Elizabeth, because he told Eva one thing, knowing that it was another. More so, he was hoping that when he did what he did that last time that he saw Elizabeth, that would be the end of it, and what he told Eva would be true. So Kenneth was hoping that karma would not come into play, and the universe would move in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
He had always gotten the best girl. He had always gotten, education wasn't an issue for him. Money wasn't an issue for him. He was good with being a loner. He actually, in his mind, he still loved Eva.
He does.
And he didn't understand why she didn't know. He just wanted his cake and eat it too.
I'm going to spoil a little bit of the hashtag spoiler, because I know they're kind of, well, what happened? What is the story? So I'll just tell a hashtag spoiler. I'm dramatic, NIKKEA.
It's all right.
So you guys have, this is a hashtag small spoiler. Follow me. And I know that NIKKEA is following me because she know. Here you have Eva. Eva is Elizabeth's daughter. Elizabeth, her daughter Eva is a product of rape. Then you have Kenneth. Then you have Erica, which is Eva's baby daughter. And somehow, like NIKKEA is saying, Kenneth took advantage. And so you find a dramatic opening of a daughter with Eva, with her daughter Erica, gun in tow, pointed at her mother and her husband because they were caught in a compromising situation. So that is there. And then you have Gregory, he is the hostage negotiator, Gregory, and he falls in love or in infatuation with Eva. And then you have this guy, Kenneth, who they both love, says that, like I say, I like the way you wrote it, who says that the mother is in an institution. And then you have Erica, who had tried to commit suicide. So are you still here? Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I love the way you did that right there. Yeah. You had them.
Well,
and so
Elizabeth actually is the one that actually attempted suicide. Erica is the daughter of Eva and Kenneth. And Kenneth is trying to control the ability for Eva to see and have custody of Erica because she also attempted suicide at the end of their interaction in Hostile. So there's a lot of trauma that everyone is working through in this book. And it was really important to me to kind of show that people had to work through that stuff. They had to work it out in their mind and life and reality. And they could not just jump over it to get to a happy ending. They had to go right steamrolling through. And it was important to show that Gregory ultimately was not there to save the day.
Yes.
Eva had to save her. She had to save herself in order for her to truly be open to the idea of Gregory and what Gregory had to offer.
So NIKKEA, what made you think of this? This was a great betrayal, a beloved mother, a real close relationship, and have this betrayal between the mom and the daughter with such a devastating, sleeping with her husband, mom sleeping with the husband. That type of betrayal is close. And, this is my mother. How do you sort out those information? Those emotions, not information, those emotions. And you had me going because I could see it. There was another woman, but this is her mother. And so you really had us going with that.
And honestly, these stories that I like to pull from real life situations. So these are things that do happen. I do like to dig on taboo topics that are not commonly talked about, but then I like to explore, well, what if this happened? And this, it's the exploration of what was happening. Because the reality is Elizabeth had only been with one other man in her life, and that is her rapist. And so, but she's still a woman, a young woman at that. And to have the the only person that really was a close relationship male in her life really be her son, her son-in-law. It was more of at one vulnerable, and this is where Kenneth came in the past, that one vulnerable moment where he made her feel like an actual woman for a moment, because she had been in protective mother mode for so long, since she was 16 years old. So it was, and so it was dealing with the, what if this happens and you have this age difference here where it's so close in proximity. Let's talk about the emotions of a woman that's only been with someone, has not been with anyone other than her rapist. And so you have that piece there that she had to work through. The fact that she made her daughter her life. And her daughter really was no longer able to be her life. And she still needs to figure that out. You know, Elizabeth is still fighting to get back to her relationship with her daughter as she knew it before, and then her granddaughter. So she never really allowed the thought of love, period, to come in. What does that look like? What does it look like for somebody to make a mistake and genuinely feel bad? And the circumstances behind it not necessarily be that she was lusting after him, her daughter's husband, but there was just this weak moment. But in that, there are steps before you get to that bed and get those clothes off and whatever. I have a poem that I used to do years ago where hostile technically is coming from a poem that I wrote, where it talked about, you know, a woman finding her husband in bed with someone else, and it wasn't necessarily the mother at that time, but she had a gun in her hand. I used to perform this live.
Yeah, that's when we met you with that
she had a gun in her hand, and she pointed it in there in the bed, and she was talking about all the steps that it took before you got to the bed. That's a big decision. So now we have this conversation that needs to happen. And then for heated situation, what does true love and true forgiveness look like? Can someone make an ultimate mistake in your eyes? And everyone's breaking point and limits are different, but can someone make an ultimate mistake, and is that and they are that close of a family member, mother to daughter, could it be forgiven? We're all prone to mistakes, right? Mistakes happen. We're all prone to mistakes. And if you make the ultimate mistake, is there any possibility that you can work back through that thing and truly show that you apologize and you're and find redemption? Because we're all capable of making mistakes, and we're all capable of and then it becomes, okay, well, who do I forgive? Do I forgive my husband that I truly love for all these years and never knew that these were these feelings, or do I forgive my mother, which I only have one of those? I get another husband, you know. So there is a whole lot of that. And at the time, Eva wasn't ready to do none of that. She just had so much rage and anger in her from what was happening and where she was, that none of these factors were something that she was even considering. How dare you? It took Gregory to be like, well, I don't have a mom. I wish I could talk to my mom one day. I can't say in your shoes that I would do the same thing, but I can say I miss my mom, and I wish I could hug her, and I wish I could talk to her. And you know what I mean? So it's really about those questions of, if we think about the ultimate no, the ultimate mistake, the biggest whatever, can we also have the conversation around forgiveness, and can it be things be truly forgotten? And then how far are you going to take that forgiveness?
Yeah.
Because once you get that relationship back, what are you doing to, now, of course, I went a little extreme with what she was willing to do to keep her relationship with her daughter and protect her daughter. But,
I didn't think that was extreme of what she was willing to do. The reason why I didn't think it was extreme, I thought to me, it was more a reality that, she messed up. She was willing to sacrifice herself because with Kenneth, he awakened something in her that was never. And so at this time, like she said, she was pregnant at 16, and then you have a daughter that's in her 30s now. So she kept herself from 16 to this point. And so, like you say, she's a woman too, and that's her mother. I'm not taking up for Liz, but I can see that things were awakened that was never there, because to her, in my mind as a reader, to her, that rape was just like the most vicious sex she could have ever had. There was no intimacy, there was nothing to part. But then I think that Kenneth gave her a little bit of intimacy that she never felt. Not excusable, but never felt. And so I was looking at that. And so for her to at any cost to get close to her daughter and take the blows, if you may.
Right.
And I can see that being like that. That was realistic to me, what she did. Anything be on her daughter's terms to make it right.
And to say, when I say I'm gonna do anything for my child, what I mean is anything for my child. So you know, there might be a part 3, who knows, but
yeah,
but it's one of those things where, like, okay, if you do the ultimate no and you get forgiven, then what does that relationship look like to not have, because in her mind, nobody's gonna ever hurt my daughter the way that I hurt her, or the way that I was hurt. So on one end, she never thought that she would be the one to her. She's protected her daughter all these years, and now here I am in a position where I did the hurting. I've got to redeem myself. I got to redeem myself.
That's true. I thought about
that. I was
thinking about that. It's a lot of back and forth. I'm glad we're having this conversation. And so with Kenneth, when it came to his daughter, their daughter Erica, Erica and the divorce, I want to put those things together. And that, you know, and then with Gregory, you know, he, first of all, he works with him. Gregory works with him. And then he has this, I thought it was a bit too much to prove in the divorce proceedings that she must prove that her and Gregory are not having a relationship. That was
so Gregory did not work with Kenneth. Gregory was being harassed by Kenneth because, again, when we think about control, so because Kenneth couldn't get what Kenneth wanted Eva back. He wanted Eva to forgive him and not Elizabeth, because in his mind, Elizabeth was dead. So when things came out and Elizabeth is still alive, and now Eva's not forgiving him, and she's considering divorce, and he still wants her back. Well, now he's angry, and he's immediately is like, well, this dude has been a thorn in my side since I was sitting in that bed naked, and my wife had that gun at me. So now I'm coming for his job. So now I want you to think about privilege. Okay. Now, this is where I start telling the story about privilege. There's a certain type of privilege that you have to have the audacity to go to somebody's job and try to get them fired because of your personal feelings and emotions. Right. So Gregory had been put on leave of absence at his job solely because this is all a year later. So solely for the reason of the fact that Kenneth went to his job and he went to internal affairs. And he pressed charges, and he wanted to press charges against Gregory for indecent relationship with his wife, because in his mind, we're still married. And not realizing that Gregory really, though he loved her since he first saw her, he did realize that the relationship could not be until everything was where it should. Exactly. I like the way he played that. So but in that, he was like, okay, I'm the you know, I was the agent that was on this case. So it is a little bit of conflict of interest for me to be king for her like I am, but he looking at her story and realizing that she had no one in the hospital and hostile, she had nobody. She thought her mom was dead. Her daughter had been taken away with her ex-husband. Her ex-husband was like, well, you got to come back to me. And she didn't want to go back there. So Gregory opened his home, and Kenneth thought it was a sexual relationship, and it wasn't. He didn't realize that he literally gave her his house. It was like, here, I'm going to go. And you figure stuff out and get yourself together, what have you, you take the time that you need. So Kenneth was just harassing his job. Okay. And
I was like, how I was trying to figure out how. I thought he worked with him because of the privilege, like you said, that he was able to do that. I'm like, okay, so does Kenneth work with him? And so now I know that he does not being investigated.
He caused him to be investigated. Yeah.
Okay.
He was called, and because of who he was, Because in I write my characters ambiguous in the book, but in the film, Kenneth is white.
Oh,
yeah. I know you saw the
I know,
film
I
years
forgot.
ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So you know, there's a certain privilege that he had, you know, for lack of better words, he was walking in a white
No
man's privilege.
wonder. I sure forgot what color the character was.
So
Yes, ma'am.
he was flexing his privilege around and pulling a Karen and pouting and saying, you know, you need to, why isn't anything being done about this? Because in his mind, it was what was happening was enough for them to investigate and put a hold on a leave of absence on him, but it was not enough to, you know, after the investigation, I was like, well, there literally is nothing going on. It's platonic. Wow, you know what I mean? So he was, you know, trying to pressure internal affairs and Gregory's boss to get him fired.
Yeah.
Not knowing that Gregory ain't need that job. Gregory was doing that job because he loved it.
Yeah, he had himself together.
Yeah. So the privilege will make you think that you're doing something that you're really not. Mm-hmm. All he did was give that man more time to spend with his wife.
That's it. Let's talk about Erica, her being a child and him lying, Kenneth lying, saying that, you know, when they were in the car and they were together and she wanted her mommy, mm-hmm. He said something that was a little over her head as an adult that made her feel as a child that my mama just don't want to be with me. Mm-hmm. And I like how you played that out. That was a very important scene. What made you capture that scene and give Erica a little role?
Because there's so much to be said about the mental health of children. Mm-hmm. That is not. And we needed to take a moment to realize that just as much stress and emotions that adults go through, children are also going through and figuring things out in their own mind as well. So I'm going from a house where I have my mommy and my daddy and my grandma comes over all the time and they love me and I know I'm loved and protected and cared for too. I'm seeing my mom pull a gun out on my mommy and grandma and they're in the bed together. I don't know what that means because I'm 7. And then my mommy's in the hospital and I can't see my mom and I haven't seen my mom for it's been a year and I want to be with my mom. I love my mom. Mm-hmm. I'm with you, but now his relationship is different because his focus is on getting Eva back, but it's more stoic. It's more privilege throw. You know what I'm saying? It's mm-hmm. not really based off of more money and I love, like I can get you everything you want, but my mom cares for me. Mm-hmm. So we needed to take a moment to really think about, and this is why therapy became really important to the storyline, because there's some things that just needed to be really talked out. It wasn't that she did not love her dad. It was that she missed her mom. Mm-hmm. And she was confused about everything that was going on just as much as the adults were working through their emotions. Yeah. So sometimes as adults, we have to step back and realize that the same what we're going through, our children are also manifesting some of those emotions in a way that they need to be guided and told that it's okay to even talk about. Mm-hmm. So that they can find ways that they can channel this into a positive outcome. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all really need, a positive outcome. And Kenneth was tiptoeing on the door of, if you can't be with me, you can't be with anybody, with Eva. Mm-hmm. But he's got this daughter that's coming up that's seeing the way that he's treating his mom. And she's going to internalize, okay, is this the way a man is supposed to treat me? Kenneth loved his daughter.
He does.
So he did want to protect his daughter in a sense, but he still was speaking through that in a very privileged way that wasn't what was best for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So things had to be reevaluated to determine, like, okay, well, for the sake of my daughter, what's actually the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. And that's why, a light bulb ends up clicking later on. It wasn't from anybody else. It was Erica, that voice of Erica saying what was really, hey, I need somebody to listen to me.
Yeah.
And us seeing that and watching how that played out, because I feel like a lot of things in that stories, and most stories that I tell, I really try to look at different sides of the story and make us analyze those and realize that, sometimes we do need to consider other things.
Yeah, because I was really looking at that and not really thinking about what was her emotions, what was she going through as a child, until you kind of highlighted that. There's a character on there. Is this the same character? Danica?
Uh-huh. You found that golden egg.
Yeah.
And
she work in the lawn in the oh my goodness.
If you have been a fan of mine, and you've read plenty of my books,
yes,
and you know Danica, the golden egg really will be, you would know if Kenneth ain't get himself together, what Danica could have unleashed on him.
Yes.
Let's just say he got himself together just in time.
He did.
Because Danica ain't no joke, honey.
But then he said he remembered that voice. So I think she did pop him upside the head just a little bit or something.
A little bit. Get a little something.
Little something.
Little something. He got a little something. He couldn't put it all the way together.
But it was a little something.
It was
enough to trigger.
Enough to trigger
words.
I think I got threatened, and I think my life flashed before my eyes, and I can't figure out why. But if you are a NIKKEA Sharee reader, you know why.
I know why.
Danica ain't no joke, honey.
She is not.
I love popping her in different books. I
was surprised when I said, wait a minute. Is it the same? I had to ask. There's some things that I will not give away, but I do want to tell you that you have such a detective mind, and I'm wondering, what are we gonna do with Liz? You left me hanging with Liz.
I thought I read Liz up a little bit.
Liz,
I left the window open for Liz.
Okay.
To potentially have some more. If we based off the response that I got from Hostile, I wanted to leave some development open for her.
Yes.
Where we could potentially go into something else. But one thing about me, I ain't gonna do a whole series. Y'all
I know you're not.
Okay.
But I wonder if she's gonna be
found
out.
To her. I'm gonna leave the door open, but I gotta live a little so I can fully get my grasp, because when I come, I want to come correct. So the way y'all got heated situation, y'all said y'all wanted a novel for the second one. Y'all got a novel. I put a lot into it. I want to do the same. I actually I have a completely different story with completely new characters that y'all never ever heard of that I'm working on right now. So I will not say that that's going to be the next book.
I won't squeeze it out.
I ain't gonna keep your hopes up for that. Don't call me every book when it's coming. But Liz, I held the door open with some ideas that I have in mind that I could come back to Liz with a little bit more pizzazz, because she is now stepping into who she is.
She is stepping. I'm like, okay, is she kin to Danica? What?
Yeah, I had to.
Really, I mean, with the on the strength of protecting her daughter now that she knows what's happening. That was really something how she found out a few things. You guys gonna have to read it. Gregory, he's pretty smart. He knows his stuff.
Oh yeah.
He knows his stuff.
Oh yeah.
And just that few little things, and it was good. So heated situation. Guys, this is a good one. You got 5 stars from me from that. You do.
Look, shout out to J.L. Woodson. J.L. Woodson did my cover.
I love that cover. Let me see.
The thing about it, so I'll be writing something and a cover will cause me to jump into and propel the story. When I saw that cover, I was like, okay, that's my cover. It was actually a pre-made. So I hadn't even talked to him before. I reached out to readers and said, hey, because typically I would make my own covers, but I just don't have time like I used to.
Yeah, you used to make those covers.
And somebody mentioned him. I went to his site, it was available, and I said, this is my story right here. This is how it actually gave me my ending.
That's right, in Paris.
Because in Hostile, Paris has a relevance. And this, to me, for Heated Situation, when I saw that Eiffel Tower, I was like, ooh, I gotta bring this in. So shout out J.L. Woodson, did a wonderful job on the cover, very efficient, and I absolutely loved it. I will definitely be using him again in the future. I'm looking to use a couple of different I'm starting to kind of get more people involved with my process. So but yeah, that cover, he did his thing on that.
He did it. LaShawn Hawks.
Hey, LaShawn.
She said, "What's next? What's next?"
Okay.
That little line of yours be going on. Monique Hamilton is here. Hello,
Hey,
ladies. Thank you for watching. Do swipe and share. I do enjoy being with you.
Yes.
And in fact, we got through. And we're not done. We still have a few more minutes. Tell us what's next. I mean, like what you're working on now. Not that, I'm gonna try to get some out of you what you cannot tell and will not, release right now. But tell us what's next with you, your boxes. Just go use this time. You got a little bit of time to let them know what you're doing, your boxes. Just be you for these few moments, and I'll let you know when.
Okay. All right. So book wise, what's next? I have a new story that I'm working on. It's in the infancy stages, but it's picking up some steam, meaning I've been writing and just kind of letting the story develop, but it's a brand new story. I have the cover.
Can we say if it's romance, detective, what genre?
Y'all know I don't do romance in the sense of traditional romance stories, simply because I like action, drama, suspense, thrillers,
stuff like that.
Child, I'll mess around. I tried the last love story I tried to write that was a love story was 30-Day Love Affair, and I started watching CSI or NCIS or something while I was writing it. Next thing I knew, somebody ended up dead. So
you can write a mean detective story. You could do some. You good?
I have a detective story that I do. So I'm pulling up the cover now. But the this story is gonna be a little more lovey,
okay,
than most of my books. It's probably not gonna be it's not gonna have as much thrilling. It's probably gonna be closer to The Confidence Woman.
Okay.
But not without the con.
Okay.
But some twists and turns, but it's gonna have it's gonna be kind of a mix between The Confidence Woman and kind of like a little bit of 30-Day Love Affair with, kind of talking about kind of some love stories, but drama hits it in the beginning. It's got drama.
We know right off the back. We know it's got drama. I'm gonna pop off.
Yeah, so this is actually, I do have the cover.
After the night, what they say? After the night.
After that one night.
Ooh.
After that one night. Man, I can't tell y'all the premise yet.
I know, but I know just saying that something is going on. Is Liz in that book? Is Liz in that? Is Liz in that book?
No, Liz is not in this book. This is all new characters.
All
new characters, unless I throw somebody up in there from another book. But for the most part, it's gonna be all new characters, and it's gonna be spicy. It's gonna be a little spicy, y'all. So it's gonna have some scenes up in there. Okay. You're gonna have to get your fan.
But is it gonna be settled like this one? It was settled, very tasteful, or a little bit more steam.
It might have a little bit more steam.
Okay.
It's gonna start out with a little steamy. Okay. Not right out the gate. It's going, they're gonna have a little date first, but it's gonna be a little spicy up in there. It's gonna be a little spicy, but I ain't gonna be. It's not gonna be rated X or nothing like that, y'all.
Okay. But, something I can read, right? You know how I am. I'm a little squirmy. I'm a little
Yeah,
squirmy.
it ain't, and yeah, I ain't gonna have them do no city girls on y'all, but
Okay. A church girl can take a church
yeah,
girl
a
can pick
church
up the
girl
book.
can take it. A church girl can take it, but y'all know you got kids, Ellen. Stop
I
playing
know
with
I
me.
got
Don't act
kids.
like you don't know how to do this.
I got kids.
This for the church girl with kids, okay? Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of heat, and I want to get kind of get a little pick some heat up in there, but it's the idea that centers around it, just like heated situation kind of sit around
Okay.
this
Oh.
idea of something happening and our thought of how we think that situation should play out.
Mm-hmm.
And what if this played out instead?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those situations where it's like it's kind of taboo, and it's kind of one of those things that we talk about in our community, like, oh, don't do that
Yeah.
because then they gonna look at you like this and da 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 da. But I'm gonna flip that thing on its head. I love to flip
Oh,
something.
wow. Are
I'm
we
gonna
going to
flip
have
it
more
and rub it
male
down.
characters? Because I know you have a lot of female and you do have males in there. Are we going to have more male casting things to come?
Yeah, it's a
A little
male
bit more
lead,
males?
a male lead and a woman lead. My bad, y'all. I love a strong woman. But I
Yeah.
do also like a strong supportive man in there too. But yes, this one is gonna have it's half and half. So
Okay.
it's there's a main woman character and there's a main male character, and it's going to deal with their relationship, which is a very interesting one, not traditional by
Mm-hmm.
any means, but they definitely tied for life.
Oh, that's good. So let me ask you, and you've probably been asked this before. You make writing a male character seem easy coming from a female perspective, because like Gregory and Kenneth, those I really thought were written by male, a male author, or I mean, it didn't take away. I just really thought they were men, with
Mm-hmm.
being a female writer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard? I mean, because you seem like you do it with ease writing male characters.
It's not hard for me to write these characters because I totally disconnect myself
Mm-hmm.
from the characters when I'm writing. I do a lot of research. I pay attention to people a lot. I do a lot of people watching when I'm watching, when I do watch television or film or what have you. I'm actually studying people.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm out, me and my husband are out and about, I study people a lot. And so I've kind of built characteristics in my head of how a person speaks, talks, looks, dresses, feels, act, how they would say things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually any of my characters are necessarily me. It's more me putting myself in their shoes and
Okay.
walking around in them. So I think about not how Nikki would feel in this situation, but how this man would feel in this situation, how this woman would feel in the situation. I even had, I'm not going to say I know everything there is, but I do try to put myself in people's feet. So like in The Misery of Amour's Demise, where I have a character that is a trans character.
Mm-hmm.
I really kind of delved into the everyone's mindset around this situation, and me not being in that community but wanting to make sure that there was a voice that was heard, that was strong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And from an ally perspective, I really I dig deep and I do a lot of research to try to figure things out. Even when Heated Situation, when we got to where they were in Paris, France, I actually looked up and I watched French films.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up the area. I was looking at maps. I was looking at translations of things and how people would say certain things and what are they called? They're called constables. They're not called officers, and
Mm-hmm.
different stuff like that. So that kind of helps me.
Yeah, I saw that little bit of that French in there. I'm like, go ahead. How you say it?
Child, don't give me the line.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
saw
can't
that.
read
And
that
then
to you, but I researched to make sure it was
I
right.
know. And then I like too how, and quite a few authors do this too, how you use words that are not everyday words, but they're common words, common meanings. And I like that. I was like, okay, she's making me go to the dictionary on this word, and, and different things like that. And they're just, there's common words, I should say, but they're the word is kind of rich there. And then I'm like, okay, yeah. And you use it in its contents, and from reading, but I'm one of those type of people. And that's why I used to didn't like having Kindles, but I like that you can press a word and it can give you its
pop up and tell you.
So that's what I like about when reading the Kindle or something. But tell folks where they can meet you, where they can reach you at, not meet you, because we ain't having nobody meet you, but where they can reach you at, and your handles, and do you have any movie coming up, any short films that you're doing?
We kind of took a pause during the pandemic. So now that the pandemic is starting to kind of wind a little bit differently, and more people have been vaccinated, and we're really watching numbers and stuff closely. The most important thing is making sure that my cast and my crew is safe. So we don't have anything recently that we have done. We're actually in, because there's 3 phases of production. There's pre-production, production, and post-production. And pre-production is the planning phase. So we're in pre-production on a couple of different ideas. So keep an eye out. Our page is Kweli Legacy. That's KWELI Legacy LLC on Facebook. We're really trying to rethink and revamp and redevelop some different ideas and concepts and how we're going to move going forward. But people can reach me personally. All my social media handles are my name, NIKKEA SHAREE, NIKKEA, Sharee, SHAREE. My website is NIKKEASHAREE.square.site, real simple. There you can get a little bit of everything I got to offer. You mentioned the boxes. I have a monthly subscription box that I do where I try to introduce other Black-owned brands to people that support me. During the pandemic, I wanted to really kind of do something to support our community and get it into the hands of the people that support me. So I do every month a subscription box where I include books, t-shirts. Sometimes it has jewelry, and it just has all types of different products. It's hand sanitizer, room spray, got candles, seasoning. I've had beers, I've made pocketbooks, and it's all type. You never know what's coming in the box.
You never know. Like Fort Knox get in there, can't nobody steal it.
Listen,
I had to take a butcher knife. I had to take a real butcher knife, steak knife, one of the big cleavers to open it.
They open, but your stuff was safe.
It was safe.
It was safe, because I actually had a jewelry that I sent one time, and I do one-of-a-kind jewelry, and I sent a package priority mail, and my person got the package, and priority on the front, it was nice, had their name, address, and everything. On the back, it was a big X that they cut and took her jewelry out. So since then, I send stuff a little different now, because I don't be playing with the post office, honey. But I also still build a contingency in just in case. But the boxes have been great this month, where for the month of August, I always do it in advance. So July purchases for August, I'm doing a rewind where people, if either they didn't get a particular month and they wanted some of the stuff that was in there, if I have leftover, I have a lot of, I always order more than I need, so I'm kind of clearing out that inventory. But September's box, which will go live on August 1st, that's going to be my anniversary box, the 1-year anniversary of the exclusive ancestor box. And I'm the price is staying the same, but I'm packing that bad boy. I already started ordering stuff. That thing is getting packed to the brim. Okay,
give me one.
So with a lot of fun stuff, and I still have, and you got to jump on it, because I still have a limited quantity of them, because I want to.
So you ordered now? You ordered July. I mean, you ordered
August 1st. That one goes
August 1st. That's when you can.
That's the anniversary box.
That's the
August
anniversary
1st,
box.
and then it'll ship on September 1st.
And do we have to order on July for August, or August 1st?
August is the rewind box. So the rewind box is actually a little bit less than the normal boxes, because it's just a box that has this random things in there. So that one is open now.
Okay.
There is a limited quantity. I think I have less than 5, I think that's left.
Okay.
But it's a great box if there was like months that you missed and like, hey, NIKKEA, do you still have this or what have you? If I have it available, I'm throwing that in the box.
Okay.
So that one is on sale now, and that ships August 1st. And then August 1st, that one goes out of sale, whatever's left. And August 1st is going to be the sales from August 1st to September 1st is when the September box goes on sale, and that's the anniversary box. So it's going to be author. I'll have books in there, of course. Every box that you purchase, you can always get a copy of one of my books in there, complimentary. You pick out which one. Also includes a shirt that I design each month. I'm trying to keep masks as long as I can buy the mask, y'all. Y'all gonna have a mask in your box because even though people are wearing a lot less masks, personally, I'm still wearing them. Just even though I'm personally vaccinated, but protecting others, and there's people in my family that I want to protect as well. So I want to make sure that you guys are protected if you so choose. But I don't even the list of what's going to be in the box comes out August 1st. So keep an eye on my website, keep an eye on my page. That's when I'm going to spill the beans. But it's going to be some old favorites, and it's going to be some new stuff that's coming in the box. And I'm super excited. I've already started ordering stuff. It's fun stuff that's going in there. So y'all get ready, get ready.
We are looking forward, and folks are saying, Wendy says like Fort Knox, and LaShawn says it is Fort Knox, and LaShawn love it. NIKKEA, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us, and we follow you. We do.
Yes.
And we love what you bring to the table. You are an amazing and phenomenal woman, and we thank you for turning them pages for us. Again, her book Heated Situations, and you guys heard us talk about it. I put the link there. Let's see who can shut this book down, y'all. Shut the book down.
Yes.
Yeah, shut the book down, because whatever you do, and Wendy say you never disappoint us, and you never do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to write until I start crying.
Oh,
if I don't start crying, then I'm like, okay, I ain't gonna move nobody else.
But you good? How many? Wait, before you go, tell us how many books you got. At least 29 or 30. Maybe I'm
no, like 20. It's so I think Heated Situation like 21 or 22. I stopped counting after 20, child. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I knew you had a lot. Had a lot. So again, guys, Heated Situation, NIKKEA, Essence Magazine bestseller, and here we have it.
Thank you.
Guys heard a bit of the story. Thank you so much. I know you had just came from work. Thank you for popping in. Good night, NIKKEA. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate you for having me.
I appreciate you too, always.
Thank you.
You're welcome.